Hello, it's Leedz. Welcome. Welcome today. Just got in here by the nick of time. Today we are going to have an interview with Mr. XL the Beast, close personal friend, New England rapper, the Kreators, legendary Boston crew. Let's see here. Pin this bastard. You're not letting me pin it. That's the problem. Come on. What are we doing here? There we go. Now we're pinned. All right. Sorry, I got a little crazy coming in here. Came in a little hot. All right, we're back. So welcome everybody. I'm gonna wait for Mr. XL the Beast to come. Kane, what up? Big flex, bro. I'm trying to book again. Let's get it. I'm not booking shows at the moment. I'm promoting them. But if you want to get in touch with the Middle East, you want to hit up Aaron G at mideastclub.com. XL the Beast is in the building. X, you know how to join and request? Let's see if I'll invite you here. Oh, looks like we got him here. Thought I had him. Here we go. A request, so hopefully that works for you. Oh,
There you are.
XL the Beast.
What's cracking, man? It's been a long time. It's been like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, what's it been, bro?
It's good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on here. I really love the series, the podcast that you've been doing. I've really dug it.
Thank you. And I just want to introduce everybody, welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment podcast. We have a special guest today, XL the Beast, New England rapper, co-founder of the legendary Boston hip-hop group, the Kreators, actor, singer-songwriter, and a few other hustles that we'll get into later. All around
Well,
skilled individual.
Yep. Thank you.
So how you doing, man?
Happy to be here. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing really good.
Are you just gonna hold the phone in your hand like this the whole time?
No, you know what, man? I got one of these sticks. And I'm holding.
You got a
it on
selfie stick?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what it is. I've always said if I had a selfie stick, I'd beat my selfie with it. But it's, I tried to hook it up on a little pad that we had, and it's just annoying. So like, I just use the phone. Why is it annoying?
No, I just don't want your arm to get tired.
Nah, I'm in a comfy chair. I'm good. Are you kidding me? I'm using my hands and arms all the time. Silly. Can you hear me? Is my audio good?
Your audio is good. So,
right, great.
So for people that don't, people, me and you know each other well. This is going to be a conversation. This is not really, this isn't going to be a Q&A. But I want to take people back for people who don't know the history and everything that's gone on. But we're going to go way back because I found your beginning, your childhood to be very interesting too. Because you grew up with as a musician father.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your childhood and music and how that all started.
Yeah. So it was a brilliant childhood. I'm the youngest of 3 children, from my mother and father. My father's name, they called him Bill. My mother's name, Catherine. Got a sister, Kristen, and a brother, Robert. We were in a household. Music was always there was 2 things that were always a constant. It was music and boxing. So the music was always playing, and if we were watching TV, we were watching boxing. So those 2 things. But there was always music around. My father was an accordion player, self-taught. Because when he came over here during the Great Depression, when he was born on the way over here, they had 11 brothers and sisters. They didn't have a lot of money to pay for lessons for everybody, and the older brother Joe who was also an accordionist. They only had money for lessons for him. So my father always had that instrument around, and I took a shine to anything having to do with music. So whether it was the old Curtis Mathis record player that had an 8-track player in it and a turntable and a radio, either playing, like classical stuff that my father would play, or like everything from like Motown and stuff my mother would play, I was always drawn to the music more than my sister and brother.
So the first instrument was an accordion that you picked up.
Yeah, actually they bought me they bought me a toy. It was a little toy accordion. It was a little plastic red accordion with white buttons. I remember I was like 4 years old when I got it, and I started getting something out of it right away. You know what I mean? At a young age, I started getting something out of it. And then, as I got older, and my sister took lessons for a little while because my father wanted like all of his kids to play. My brother hated it, so he wanted to play the guitar. And my brother wanted to, be like a rock and roller. He didn't want to learn everything else. He didn't have the patience for it. But it was the accordion that I learned, the first instrument. Yeah.
I just bring that up because it's funny because you don't see too many accordion players turned rappers.
No, I might be the only one. I might be the only one. The funny thing is too is the stigma and the aura that's kind of around that instrument is pretty. I think it's probably the overall view from the majority is probably an obtuse view, right? So like everybody looks at it either like two ways. It's either like polka music or like Lawrence Welk. You know what I mean? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that music. But that wasn't the music that we studied. Like the music that we were drawn to. There's a whole segment of the world's population that embrace that instrument, and they have a world championship called the Coupe Mondiale, and it's in Castel di Fidardo, Italy, and that was where the accordion was created. And the winner of that wins $1 million and makes tons of money playing around the world. It's not really prevalent here, but we knew about it. So we studied from a young age. We weren't playing like that happy polka music or that champagne music. You know what I mean? Like we were playing, it was like Mozart and Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff. So it was like rooted in real deep classical stuff. It's one of the only instruments during its time that you could carry anywhere that had its own rhythm section and everything attached to it, right? Like you can't just carry a piano in a building, but you could take that instrument, you know what I mean? And you could literally entertain any number of people with it. You know what I mean? It had its own rhythm section. You didn't need a drummer. You didn't need anything. You could keep its own beat and tempo. So it was. And again, I dove right into it. As I got older, I got lessons, and I became state champ, and I ran right through it. You know what I mean? At a young age. So, but I dove into when I get into something like that, I tend to really immerse myself. So I studied the history of it, where it came from, the origins, the masters. I really enjoyed it. It was a really special bond between my father and I. You know what I mean? It was something that we really shared a lot. It was really important to me. So.
And your father was first generation off the boat from Italy.
Yeah, he was born on the boat over here. You know what I mean? So yeah, first generation. Yeah, just cut from a different cloth. Him and his whole family. We just buried the last remaining family member, which is his sister Thelma, and she was 97. So the family lived a long time, and they were just a really great group. You know what I mean? It was a unique childhood, from that perspective. But then you have my mother on the other side, right? Who was younger. There was like an age difference between my parents, like a pretty big one. So, and my mother was listening, to Motown and disco, and and then like she had to do was play a little bit of country. She played like Charlie Daniels and like Marty Robbins, but most of it was like boogie music that she would play when we had to wash the walls in the house. We had chores and we was little kids. She'd get a bucket with soapy water and put on some records, and we'd have to like scrub the walls of the house like once a month. And, so we would always had music going, it was good.
That's great. So where did the transition from that into hip hop? How did that into rapping? How did that transition?
So I would say like, a lot of my youth, like when I expanded my sound, like I was listening to like Neapolitan stuff and classical music, really young age. Those were like the roots. But then like I had half brothers and friends, and everybody were listening to rock and roll. And then so I got into rock and roll. I got into all the classics there, the Pink Floyds, the Led Zeppelins, Motorheads, all this stuff, Rush, all these really great musical bands. And then the first person to show me hip hop was a friend of mine, Steve Veneroso. And Steve Veneroso had ended up, being in the city more. And he came out when the last time I saw him, he was listening to Ozzy Osbourne. And I hadn't seen him for like a year. And when he came back, I was like, oh, I got Ozzy's new album. He's like, Ozzy. He's like, never mind Ozzy, man. Have you ever heard the Fat Boys? Have you ever heard of, have you ever heard of Run DMC? Have you ever heard of, LL Cool J? And I was like, nah, what's that? You know what I mean? So he played it. And I was like, what the hell is this? And so that was where I first got sparked on it. I was probably in 7th, 8th grade. And then the transition began to happen with that right there. So like like I always listened to the other music, but I became drawn to hip hop like a moth to the flame, right? It was just kind of like this. I was like, oh my God, I want to be a part of this. And where I lived out in the sticks, there was nothing, right? Like there was no radio, there was no music stores, there was no nothing. Like we had absolutely nothing out there so far as content available. So I made friends that were from the city. My friend Mike Jones came out and he kind of completed the transition into it. I told him I wanted to rap and he's like, well, why don't you? So I started. So I'd say probably about the freshman, sophomore year of high school, freshman, I started rapping. You know what I mean? I started really getting into it. So that was when I started.
Right. So from there you start rapping, and then how does the later you rap, you meet G Squared. How does the Kreators form after that?
It happens before that. Actually, it happens before that. My first rap name was the Lyrical Sniper, and I was in a group. Okay, my first name.
Sniper, dude.
Oh yeah.
That's money. That's money right
there. Yeah, the lyrical. Yeah, but listen, you gotta understand what that was back in the day where like.
No, I understand. Where, no one understands.
You know what I mean? Where like. Whenever you were lyrical this and lyrical that, you know what I mean? Like, you had, you know what I mean? So it was like, and the group's name was DNV because I'm Darren and he's Victor. The first time I ever recorded a rap song was, and I'm still friends with the guy today. He's platinum producer. His name is Steve Venata, and he owned One World Studios in Boston. Okay. Yeah. And we went in there, we recorded a song about Mike Tyson because I felt Mike was wrongly imprisoned and that they were just out to get him, right? And I remember it was a big deal because a lot of people were angry that I did it, and I got written up in the paper and everything about being, you know what I mean? Like it was like, oh man, but he was like an idol, and I loved him, and you know what I mean? And I felt like he got railroaded. Besides all that, so it cost $3,500 to record the single, and we didn't have that bread. So we went around and we sold shares to friends and family members of our rap group, and they gave us the dough. They gave us the dough. God love you all. Thank you. I'm sitting here because of you. My man Steve Venata at One World tried to pitch the record, but it was too hot. They liked it, but it was too hot. But in that turn, I met a guy that ended up introducing me to G Squared. And G Squared was the one that gave me my start in hip hop, and that was where the beginning of the Kreators started. G Squared, he had a group called Cypher, and he had formed it with a guy out of Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia, Mtano Lowy, and it was Mocha Records. And Mtano was here going to school at in Berkeley, so I hooked up with G. And G was, he was way cooler than I was. You know, I was still kind of a dorky kid with not a lot of like knowledge about anything cool. You know what I mean? Like from where it's, your beginnings. You know what I mean? Like I came out of the woods and I came into the city and I kind of, so. G
and then when you say woods, you're talking what town in Massachusetts?
I was in Rentham. I lived in Rentham, Mass. That was where I went to school there. I went to King Philip there. I have a ton of friends there. My mom still lives there. Yep. My accountant's there, everything. You know what I mean? Like it's
the outlets are. Rentham outlets in Rentham?
Yeah, the outlets. And we're like 2 minutes from where the Patriots play, right?
Okay, so you're like Central Mass? It's like Central Mass, right?
No, it's like Southeastern Mass. Right. You know what I mean? You got Metro West. You got Western Metro West. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we're down in that area, but I came from there you gotta understand, like, people think now, like, what are you talking about? I live out here, but back then there was none of this, right?
Yeah, it was rural.
Like you bought like, well, I'm saying you bought cassettes, and it was Strawberries records and tapes,
The
and
the Patriots weren't out there yet.
No, they were there. They were just trash.
I thought it was somewhere else. I thought it was somewhere
else.
No,
they were cool back then. I mean, they had like 1 or 2 runs, where they went and they got like obliterated by the Bears, but they weren't. No, they were there. The Patriots.
I thought for some reason the stadium was somewhere else, not in Foxborough.
No. Well, it was Schaefer Stadium.
Oh, okay. It was still in Foxborough though.
Yeah, and then Sutter. It was a dump though, man. It was terrible.
Yeah,
I can remember
that.
You used to be able to get tickets for like $1. And you go there as like a 9 or 10-year-old kid and be horrified at going to the urinal to take a leak. Man, you walk in there, it was just giant troughs and dudes completely hammered. You're in there like, what in the hell is this? The guy's like, what are you doing, kid? You're like, it's a nightmare. It was terrible.
That's where the shit really goes down, man, is in the Patriots bathroom. Even to this day, when you're in that line, man, shit is wild. God forbid someone's wearing the other team's jacket or sweatshirt or whatnot. It's free for
back
all
then, though, think about back then. Think about how long ago you could catch a beat and get flipped over the top rail and nobody would say boo, right? Like Foxborough police were like, oh, they're just drunk. We'll sort it out after the game. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that, man. It was like a semi-pro team at that level. You had people that went, but it wasn't like it is, the dynasty that they created now. It's
not in the 80s.
No. I mean, we still loved them, right? But we had the Celtics and the Bruins, right?
Yeah. Celtics was the Kings in the 80s.
Unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. And
let's go back to, we got a little sidetracked. Let's go back to Kreators. Now, at the time when you meet G Squared, he's not really producing. He's just rapping at the time, right?
No, he was not producing. He was DJing, right? So it was DJ G Squared. He was
rapping, wasn't he?
And he was rapping, and he had G Squared's group. He had a couple groups before that, but he had done his name of his group was called Common Knowledge. And
and you were the lyrical sniper.
I was the lyrical sniper. But listen, that was where I heard the first time I heard Jay Son was on a song. It was Diesel Dog, G Squared, and Jay Son, who was known as Riv. I still remember Riv's verse. And when the mad funk hits like a quarterback blitz, we leaving rappers with the shits because we armed like pits. It's crazy. I remembered it like the song was called On and On and On, and that was how I was like, yo, who made this beat? And he hooked me up with him, and me and G, we hit it off from there, and he just kind of brought me to school a little bit. And he stayed out at his mom's crib in Wayland, and he had a pair of Techniques, and he had a 4-track tape recorder, and we started.
4-track.
We started out there, and then he bought the MPC.
For those who don't know, the Kreators was a group, Boston hip hop group of XL, G Squared, Jason, and Big Juan. Rest in peace.
That was the group,
right?
Big Juan. Yep, that was it. That was before Juan came in. We had like this little startup where Juan was kind of like not making his mind up yet, and we actually did a couple of shows. It was me. Here's some people will not even know. Me, G Squared, and my man Natural Skills, who was out of New York, and he had done work with us when we were up in Vancouver doing Cypher, because Cypher was the group that Jeff had with Antano that predated and started the Kreators, right?
Yep. They won a Juno Award. Didn't they win like a Juno Award up there or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen, I went from like doing no shows, no nothing, having no exposure, to going with G Squared. He was like, look, why don't you come up? Because I was kind of a goon, you know what I mean? Like, I had potential, and I could rap, you know what I mean? I was pretty solid, you know what I mean? But, like, I would be a goon, you know what I mean? If something would happen, I would handle it. That didn't scare me, you know what I mean?
Well, you're a big guy. For those just listening, XL is 6'2", built like a lineman.
Jeez, I wish I was small just once. You know that? I wish I was small just once. Everybody's like, why do you say that? I'm like, listen, do you know every time you have a friend that want to move, that you're the first person they call? And if somebody would just call you anything besides big guy, it would be all right, you know? But I'm not complaining. I'm not.
Or bull, right? Grab the bull for bull work.
Yeah, the bull for bulwark. Yeah, man, absolutely. 100%.
Shout out Rose Glenn. He just said, "Let me get a lung dot." For those that don't know.
What up, Glenn? What up, Rose Glenn? Rose Glenn, solid cat, man. We've done a lot of great work together. Did the Apocalypse video. Thank you. Shout out, Rose Glenn.
So the Kreators form. So the Kreators form, and the chemistry is instant, right? Like it's just like we got something here. Let's talk about the early days of recording and everything, and what that was like.
G comes back from Canada. He runs into Jason at Axis. We're doing a show at Axis or Avalon, maybe. And we do the show there. We kind of get together. We start talking. Chemistry is there. G had bragged about Jay for years. They were really close, and he loved Jay's rap skills. Jay was just fantastic. And then Juan came into the picture, and we were cool. Me, Jay, and Jeff, we were cool. We hit it off right away. And then when Juan came in, Juan showed up at G Squared's mother's house with a Mercedes with like shrimp in the trunk, and he started making beats. It was really funny. So we started recording. We recorded, I think the first song we recorded without Juan, we recorded at Clinton Sparks Studio. And that was a lot of the work. Then Juan came in, and it was just magic. Like we recorded the first EP, which I would love to know if anybody has a copy of it, because I don't. It's Kreators Lost Pages. And man, let me tell you, there was some music on there. That was when we knew that we were going to go. So
what year was that?
Holy shit. 96, 97 maybe?
Yeah, the title sounds very 96. Lost
96,
Pages.
Yeah, Lost Pages. It was really great. You know what I mean?
Very Wu-Tang.
Very
Wu-Tang-ish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were coming from a group called Cypher, right? That I was a part of, and you know what I mean. So it was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Big Juan. See, Juan had a deal with Juice with Soul, so he came in. He had a huge record deal, and he had toured around. He had, Juice with Soul with Bill Blast. I can't remember his name. It might be it, but when we got in there and we started recording, once we had to find a home, right? We were bouncing around. I remember we recorded at Clinton's place a couple times, and then we ended up settling in at Waltz Audio, which was at the BFVF above Little Stevie's on Boylston, right down in Boston. And that became our home base. You know what I mean? And then we started recording in there. I would say with the early days of the Kreators recording, it was Jeff was making dope beats, and Juan and Jay, they were the most experienced. I was the least experienced, right?
Yeah.
So
you were the youngest too, right?
I was the pup. Yeah, I was the pup. Yeah, and the least experienced, right?
Yeah.
So
you got a lot of experience and knowledge out of that situation.
Dude, I can't tell you how much. Like, I'm so grateful for like Jay and Juan and Jeff. Like, they taught me. Like, dude, listen, the battles and the freestyle sessions that took place over on Alvin Terrace, where I ended up living with Jay and Bake and Juan, that was like our spot, right? We were at Alvin Terrace All Stars. It was right in Dorchester, over by Fields Corner. Yep. And dude, the training I got there, we were lethal. At that point, we were as deadly as you could be. We were as sharp as you could be. Yep. So we went in and we started recording No Contest.
Right. Great.
We got funding. We had an investor, Rob Frederick, extremely successful, brilliant guy. G Squared had built a relationship with him, and he funded the project.
And you get co-signed by Edo G, right? The group gets co-signed by Edo G.
Massive, right? It's massive.
That was
I want to say something really quick. It was a massive deal. Look, I met Edo at the Ratskeller. I met Edo and Scientific on the same night.
Oh, dope.
And mad cool. It was at the Rat. They put all us hip hop and hardcore kids at the Ratskeller. They were like, "We're gonna leave you savages over there." And I'm
gotta go somewhere.
Whatever. But yeah, we had to go somewhere. But that was the spot. For nobody that would ever went to the Rat, never saw a hardcore show there, a punk show there, a hip hop show there. It was Increase the Peace. Monday nights, live hip hop at the Rat. It's crazy that I remember these details, but
great.
Ed OG, like when he came, we did No Ordinary Love with Ed, and that was like a really big song. It's like, dude, look, Ed OG, okay, like sometimes I feel like people don't understand truly how lucky we are to have somebody like him and like RSO, like from our city. Like Ed O.G. is a worldwide, like, he is like he's just in the pantheon of great rappers that contributed to. He's got a real hip hop classic. I know people say, "Oh, this is classic." No, it's not. Ed O.G. has certified hip hop classic. It's not.
No,
People are like, "Oh, this is making classics."
No,
like, settle down.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. I gotta have it as a classic. Be a father to your child is a classic. Ed O.G. is a jewel, right? We are fortunate to have him here. And I knew that from when I met him the first time. I was like, damn, that's fucking Ed O.G. You know, and then when he did the Kreators work, it definitely was a big cosign for us. You know what I mean? And that record, that year before the record was even released, we were, I think, the first, and I don't know if the only group ever nominated for Boston hip hop group best album of the year without an album on it. It was based solely upon our live performances.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has ever had that accolade, but we were the first. We were nominated for that, without even a record out, without an album.
Best album, no album. Love that.
But they were like best album, best hip hop act without an album out, just off live performances.
Yeah, and your live show was crazy. We'll get into that in a little bit. But so the No Contest album, that's like what, 99-ish, 2000-ish?
Yeah, that's 99, 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a classic.
98, maybe 98. Maybe 98, 99, because the wheels kind of fell off after 2000.
This is where I kind of hear about you at this time. Because of the Ed O.G. cosign, I had people next to me who would tell me, like, oh, Ed O.G.'s working with this group, the Kreators. And I was like, who the heck is the Kreators? And I went and checked it out, and I went and bought No Contest around that time. And like the track that got me the most was your solo track on there, Chemical,
man,
which is about drug use and alcoholism, and there's so much, the vivid detail that you go into on that track it was so believable to me at the time, and I was still getting high and drinking at the time, and I was like, oh man, this is connecting pretty hard. Let's talk about where you were at when you made that song.
Oh man, oh man, I was a human hurricane, right? I was full of all this new life experience. I knew I was coming into my own. And when I wrote Chemical, G Squared had made that beat, and I was like, oh my God. And I wrote to it. And it was at that point, the greatest thing I had ever written or rapped. Like, I remember Jay Saw being like, X, if you spit that, nobody's going to believe that that's you rapping it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because white guys don't rap like that. You know what I mean? He's like, they don't. They might rap about drinking beers, because that was a big deal back then. You know what I mean? It was like MC Search and Everlast, who shout out to them both, who were like pioneers. But there wasn't. I mean, we had God Complex. Shout out to SO and 7L and
Karma
and Karma, love Karma. And then we had my homie Checkmark, and we had the Skit. But like, we were doing something a little bit different. It was a little more visceral, gutter, and that was where I was. I was full blown into consistent alcohol and cocaine use, and right around that time, actually, this is a funny story. I was actually trying to quit alcohol when I recorded Chemical, okay? But a couple of bumps were okay because it wasn't drinking, right? Because I was just an alcoholic, right?
Ooh, that sounds.
And I remember you listen to this is a story. Nobody knows this story. When I went in to record Chemical, there's sounds in there. Somebody cutting the line up on the. Right? That was a reel. We mic'd those in the studio, and we mic'd them, and then the line sniff, that was real. That was me doing that on a microphone. And I remember doing that and smoking a joint because I wanted to have all the drugs in me. I said, well, what about alcohol? I can't drink it. I took a sip of whiskey and I goggled it and I spit it out because, heaven forbid that I drink. I was trying to get sober. so this is where I was.
Selfie sober.
Yes, that's right. So that was my mind state. I was very disconnected from any reality. You know what I mean? I wanted to be a rapper, and I was fully committed to being an MC's MC, and I wore my addictions like a badge of honor. You know what I mean? Because they helped they helped me get over a lot of fears that I had, even if it was just for the moment. You know what I mean?
And the drinking and the drug use got so out of control that you had to get sober, correct?
Yeah, it almost killed me, right? So like it
So
almost killed me.
shortly after No Contest, you make this album, you make this track Chemical, which is so vivid that it has to be real. You have to get sober, right? Shortly after that, right?
Yeah, it wasn't far after that. I would say my father died. So I had been like I wasn't drinking alcohol, but I was doing other drugs. And then my father died, and the day I put my father in the ground, the day I put my father in the ground, I picked up a drink that night, and I drank myself into a stupor, and then I was off and running, and actually did my last 8-ball with Slane. It was Slane and I, we had just started hanging out, and I did my last 8-ball with him, and 2 days later I ended up in the hospital in the ICU. I had at the age of 28, I had blood clots in my lungs from the alcohol within your blood, but the inositol and the cocaine would thicken it up. So the body got confused and started throwing blood clots because it thought I was having a bleeding issue. And then I had the liver of a man that had been drinking alcoholically for over 40 years at the age of 28. And I had a 50-50 shot of living and dying, and that was it. That was rock bottom. You know what I mean?
Game over.
I was tied to the bed. They had my nose plugged up so that I wouldn't sneeze because it could dislodge the blood clots. It could go to my brain or into my heart, kill me. They had me on Coumadin, and I could hear death around me. I was in a place where there was terminally ill people. You know what I mean? And they were dying. And the nurse, I remember she was like Nurse Ratchet, and she was like, "You're in here because you might die." And she goes, "And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're 28, you know." She goes, "A lot of these people don't have a choice." So that was it, dude. That was, yeah. I mean, it did. When I left the hospital, I had to walk home because I didn't have a car. You know, why would I? And I was walking home, and I got to a light. And if I went like another 4 blocks straight, I could have gone home and just crawled into my bed. But if I took a left, it was like a meeting right there to go to, an AA meeting. And I took a left and I went to the meeting, and that's where my journey of recovery started. But it just destroyed everything. You know what I mean? That whole shit.
And you recently celebrated 20 years of sobriety, correct?
Yep. Yes, I did. Yeah. Thank you. It's to no credit. It is to no credit of my own. There's a group of people that showed me the way, and left to my own devices, I'll do the wrong thing. So I'm grateful. You know, I had to focus on, look, I can't drink bleach, I can't drink gasoline, I can't drink alcohol. It's the same thing.
It is.
You know, my favorite drink is the next one, and I hate cocaine, but I love the smell of it. You know what I mean? So I just leave it all alone. You know,
and more is never enough.
Never enough.
Well, salute to you on that. I want to backtrack just a tad.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yep.
So No Contest is out. Kreators, our best hip hop group of Boston. The buzz is building. Edo G coincides, and then you guys create this song called Home with the legendary Guru. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Kreators, Crumb Snatcher, Big Shug, Acrobatic.
Yep.
Did I leave anybody out? I think I got it. Edo G's on there too.
Yeah, Edo, Shug, Acro, and the Kreators, and obviously Guru, which was, I mean, come on. I mean, look, like Gang Starr is like one of my foundational hip hop groups of all time. Just like like everybody from the boot camp, but like Primo and Guru, just Jesus,
It's the best.
It's just that's it, So for me, that's pretty much it.
It's the best.
And so, seeing those, having the opportunity to work with Guru and then meet Primo and have him know who we were, I was like, because he put us like on an industry mixtape, and I was like, oh my God, I've made it, right? Like I just did a song with Guru. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
And I want to stop you real quick because I want to point out that you go first on that song. With a bunch of Boston legends, national artists at that time, co-signed by Premier, Gang Starr, everybody. You,
Yep.
a white MC in 2000, 2001, go first.
Yeah.
That's a big deal back then. That's
It's a
a
tall
very
order.
big deal back then.
It was a tall order, right? I mean, when I wrote the verse and we were in the room, everybody's like, that's gotta be the start. They're like, you gotta lead off with that. We from the B to the OSTON. We're cats double cross friends for dollars and gems. You know, and I remember I was spinning to Edo in the thing, and Ed looks at me and goes, damn, X, that's fire, right? He's like, all right, X. He's like, what cats? He's like, all right. He's like, yeah, man, he's got it. You know what I mean? And, you know, at the time, I definitely didn't understand the significance of it, like, as I look at it now.
Yeah.
By, like, the cosign of everybody in the room. You know, my bandmates included, because we weren't yes men. Like, if you were whack, you know, Jay or Ed or Jeff would be like, yo, that's whack. You need to rewrite that, or you need to rap it better than that. That sucks. You know what I mean? You can do way better than that, or that's not cutting it. Or you know what? You're not going to even be on this song because it's not good enough. I mean, that was how it was. Yeah. And I think a certain element of that is healthy, right? I mean, it stops people from making bad decisions. But I definitely let off on that song. So everybody that knows Home, they know that opening line. That shit belongs to me. And that was like a really big song. You know what I mean? Like, that was a really big deal. I mean, that was like the first record that Guru had done with anybody from Boston too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it. Him and Edo. I think the Truth Hurts
After
albums around the time. But yeah, I think
right. But we recorded that first.
Oh, word. Were you there with Guru in the studio? Was he there?
Yes, I was. Of course, I was.
I didn't know if everybody. So everybody recorded their verse all at the same time back then?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. But I was there. I never forget my man Wild Bill, rest in peace, Wild Bill. When he found out I was going to the studio with Guru, he's like, yo, let me give you some weed to give him. And he used to have copious amounts of it. And he gave me like a trash bag. Like a big trash bag full of weed to give to Guru. And Guru looked at me and he's like, what do you want me to do with this? I'm like, I don't know. My friend told me to give it to you. He was like, and every time he would come to Boston, I would give it to him. But I was in there. I never forget because I got to play him a couple Kreators joints. I played him a joint me and Juan did called Monday. I see men die for it. Monday. And he was like, oh, this is really good verse. And he actually pulled me aside because we met him. We saw him at the BMAs, and Jay and Juan had gone out with him, and they hung around and they kind of like talked to him about it. He was like, yeah, I'm down. And him and I got to talk and hang out, and we got to know one another a little bit. He would come to Metro Concepts a lot, and I would see him every time. I would come and bring him a big bag of lye, and we would kick it. And he pulled me aside and he said some shit to me that stuck with me forever. Guru said to me, he said, look, X, he goes, everybody in your crew is dope. He goes, and I've got to know everybody in the group. He goes, you're the most approachable out of everybody in the group. He goes, so people are going to come to you for a lot of reasons. And he said, a lot of groups and kids that are on the come up are going to come to you looking for help. And he said, it's your responsibility to be able to weed out the people that are serious and the people that are just trying to get a rep. He says, but you have to kind of give back on that level. If you have an opportunity to help somebody up and coming, because you have to do it. He's like, we can't complain. There's no shade for us to rest under, you know, when we get older if we don't plant any trees, right? And I was like, word. He's like, people are going to approach you because you're approachable. He's like, and you're a personable guy. He's like, and he goes, just, when the opportunity's right and you think you can help somebody, help them. And I'm like, word. And it was what he told me. He's like, that's how you make sure you build up a good hip hop base in this city that will never be depleted. He's like, so add to it. He goes, even if you go down in music history and you don't ever have a platinum record or you don't ever have this and that, at least you know that you contributed to the building blocks of hip hop in your city in some way, shape, or form. And I agreed with him.
That's why he's the greatest.
Really man, I wish he was still here.
I do too.
Man, I wish he was still here. Oh my God.
The different ball game. Well, okay, so that record is just that probably was the biggest record at the time. And then you follow it up with what was the name of the third album? I forget. Forgive me. After No Contest.
Live Coverage.
Live Coverage. So that's like
coverage.
Kreators come together again. And
but it's like at that point the group has like kind of like imploded a bit. You know, Juan is doing some separate stuff. Jay is doing some separate stuff. This infighting, you know, we're all hitting it really hard. You know what I mean? A lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. You know what I mean? Just kind of like creative differences. I'm starting to come into my own too. First of all, I'm trying to clean my life up, right? Because I am just like halfway through recording that album, I'm getting sober and I am unreliable for anything. So Jason kind of steps in and fills in a lot of the blanks with Jeff. And, you know, they bring people like Rob Jackson in. They did a joint, I think that was a joint that they did with Capadonna. And then, then the Swain, Crumb Snatcher, and Jay do the bang. It was one of my favorite Kreators songs called Hardcore, which is
was that actually a Kreators record? I remember that being on Slane's record. I didn't know that was.
They might have shared it. I think that was on Live Coverage, or it might have been on.
I think it was
Past, Present, and Future.
Yeah,
Either way, Live Coverage was. I think we had, or it might have been. You know, I might be messing up some of my own history here. All I know is at that point I wasn't really reliable. And I was really deep into the mess at that point. And I know that Jay and Jeff kind of had to take over the reins of it. Or it might have been Past, Present, and Future. It's been so long ago, man. I already gave you some gems that I shouldn't remember from like the beginning. So I get a mulligan on that one.
Pete Rock, you do a joint with Pete Rock on that record, right? Were you actually rapping on that record? I can't remember.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. That was Creator Night. Yeah, it was so we had two versions of that. We had a street version and then we had one with Cheryl Pepsi Riley sang the chorus.
Yep.
Give me the night, baby. Yeah. You know, that joint right there, like I always wanted it to be a little different. You know what I mean? That was kind of like where I started having like my differences about, you know, the song, you know, the whole process. You know, we were down at Quad Studios with Pete, and we recorded that down in the city, down in New York. And I forgot, Pete Rock ate like at Tad's Steakhouse and got sick and had to like, he was like all laid out on the couch. It was crazy, but yeah, that was it was a Pete Rock record. I mean, it was cool. It was cool. It was you know, it's Pete Rock, right? I mean, come on, hello. Like, so it was cool. But yeah, I rapped on that record. So we had a collection of music. I think Live Coverage was okay. I think it was Past, Present, and Future. I know that there's one where you hear a lot more Jason, and I think that that's Live Coverage because towards the end of Live Coverage, I was getting sober and I wasn't good for anything. Like after my father died, I fell down a hole, and then it took me like a year to reach the bottom of it, and then I was, you know, I was pretty much gone. And then Juan kind of, there was ripples within the group fragmenting and breaking up. So,
and then I think, you know, one of the biggest moments that the Kreators has right at the end there is opening up for Jay-Z's Black Album tour.
Yeah,
you
crazy.
guys performed in front of what?
Crazy.
20? How many thousands of people?
It was a lot, man. It was sold out, man. Right? It was
sold out. Songus Arena, which I should know this because I'm a promoter. I want to say it's like 8,000.
No, I think it was the Fleet Center because we opened up. You're right. It was Songus. It was Songus. We opened up for NSYNC. The Kreators opened up for NSYNC at the Fleet Center.
That's funny.
That was 20,000 screaming kids. And don't swear, okay?
Sure.
Don't swear. I remember I had to leave work. I had to leave work early, and I told them that I had like a doctor's appointment, and like who knew it was going to be on the news, right? Like they had like NSYNC, and I was like, oh my god, I was in a state of panic. Like if my boss sees this, I'm fired. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh my god, you know what I mean?
The boss might have to let that one go, though. All right, you opened up in front of 20,000 people. I'll give you that.
Dude, he was an accountant. Accountants don't let anything go. They don't let anything go.
No, they don't. You're right. Blame the bean counter.
That's it. Always, every time. So you get there is no give there. You know, there's no.
You just get those brains and just
tick. It's all statistical. You know what I mean? You weren't here.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was, those were some really big highlights, those are
Dude,
to sit and watch Jay on the side of the stage. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I've seen most of my performances. Like,
yeah,
everybody that I ever loved, like, on the side of the stage. You know what I mean? It's a totally different perspective. Watching Questlove and the Roots Band play half of the song, and then watch a DJ play the other half, and just like an hour of just hit after hit, and you're like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So the Kreators break up, unfortunately, and you start working solo. At this point, you go on a solo path and you start recording, and this starts around what, 2005, 6 maybe?
Yeah, 04, 05. I start toying around. Like, I get like a year of sobriety under my belt, and I start getting busy again because it's it's at this point the hook is in, right? Like, I can't not make hip hop, and I still had a name. So I start, first project I did with this cat named Rob Ferragamo called Cutthroat. And it was like an EP. There was really good music on there. It was really solid. My man, King Shab, he was on that record a lot with me. And, he did a couple guest spots. His son, who's Ashy Nux, who's also a very, dope MC himself, who's really doing well right now too. He was on there. And I did, Jay Song was on there. I brought Jay in to do some stuff with me. At that point, Jeff, I don't think was around really doing much rapping. He was doing some other stuff. He was working like on his own music, like producing stuff for other artists. So I did that, Cutthroat. And then from there, Rob was friends with my man Desi, James Desmond from Beat Clock Productions. This is him and Panner and another guy. They have an unbelievable production company. They're unbelievable musicians. And him and I got together and we did like a mixtape, because that mixtapes were like really big deal back then, and it was called Spare Change, and it had like 15, 16 tracks on there, but like I didn't have any hustle game or knowledge of how to like promote it or market it, but I was building my own path as a solo artist, because when you come out of a group that's got 4 people in it and you're only responsible for a verse, for each song. You know what I mean? You don't have to carry that heavy load. So I had to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? And I would go and do shows on my own without a hype man. I would have to play the CD and I would rap. You know what I mean? And it was just kind of like, I never really bombed, but it's like you see a comedian go out on the road and they bomb. You know what I mean? They're doing stuff on their own. They're trying to find what works. That's what I did for like 2 or 3 or 4 years. I really started, but my rap game was solid. Like, my wordplay was good, my cadence was good, and then I started experimenting with a little bit more singing. I always wanted to sing, but it wasn't the cool thing to do. Back then, it represented like New Jack Swing almost, and that was like really shunned upon by hip hop. It was like, if you sang, you were real soft. You were really soft. Yeah. So. And then, I was always worried about how I was perceived. I was extremely insecure, very insecure man. But for most of that time, pre-drug use and after, extremely insecure. Played the role of a really loud, angry, potentially violent man, just so that nobody would know how afraid I was. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, so I'd have to punch somebody in the face, just so I could keep up that image, which was, it's all bullshit. I was just scared. You know what I mean? It's just how I reacted. I didn't have the tools to grow like normal people did, because I had spent so much time in a bottle that I lacked the ability to deal with life on life's terms. Right. So,
yeah. So after these couple mixtapes, you link up and you do a feature with the legendary Sean Price, rest in peace, called Credibility.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. So it's more than that. I hook up with Strong Arm, my man Steve Heck, and he wanted to get into music management, and he had been promoting some stuff with Jeff, and they were able to put together some financing. I financed the majority of it, myself. Steve put a lot of money and time into it too. So shout out to Stephen Heck, who I love dearly. Lives in Florida now, married, beautiful bride, and sells houses. But we started a project called Beast Coast. hooked up with Matt Diamond down in New York. Shout out to Matt Diamond and JJ, and they hooked us up with a whole bunch of different producers, and that's what first started, right? I started getting beats from Domingo, my brother Domingo. Shout out Domingo, my brother Shuko over in Germany. Shout out to Shuko, who is a real huge contributor. Teddy Rockspin started kind of around that time too, and Archetype started around then. Started working with them, so we started.
And I just want to stop you real quick. This era is the beginning of the Heavy Hands album.
That's right. Yeah, this is
so. Just for people listening, Heavy Hands originally was called Beast Coast, and this is what he's talking about. Is linking up with all these people back then, which started with the Sean Price Credibility joint.
That was the first major single. Right. Yeah, the Credibility joint. I got the beat from Shuko. Matt Diamond brokered the deal with Sean. Sean, we recorded the verses. Sean came up. We shot the video. We became friends. Dear friends, and we had a hell of a time doing it. I went down to New York a couple times, performed it. He came out and did the shows with me, which was crazy. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And but that was Beast Coast. And then I never forget, like I was having health problems at that point. Yeah. And it got really serious. So I had health problems, and then I went through a divorce. And so I went from having like money in the bank and a beautiful credit score to getting sick, going through a divorce, and I lost everything. I had a son, a 4-year-old son at the time, and I didn't know if I was going to live or die. And it was really, really bad. You guys actually put a benefit on for me at the Western Front, and I was able to pay my rent because I was behind like 3 months because I didn't have any money.
I remember that you were sick, and I remember you showed up, and you probably had lost about 60 pounds at the time, and you had to leave. You couldn't even stay. You had to leave. You were that sick.
I couldn't stand up. You know what I mean? I was so sick. I was actually, I was like I lost over 108 pounds.
And I remember when you were going through that, because the doctors it was trial and error trying to figure out what's wrong with you, and it eventually being diverticulosis.
No, it wasn't diverticulosis at that time. My body had gone through had encountered some type of toxic shock, and it had gone through a genetic twist. So on a molecular level, a lot of things in my body started happening that never happened before. Like I started getting hyperallergies to everything. I couldn't eat anything. My stomach would swell. I had no appetite. I would be sick. I was being constant pain, like this pain in my stomach and intestines, and like it was really scary, man. They didn't know what was going on, and they were like, and then they thought I had one thing was like eosinophilia, and that was going to kill me, and I was like, Jesus Christ. It was trial and error, and then I started to come out of it, like my body just kind of realigned itself, and I have a slew of problems from it. Like I've never been the same since. Like that's when I ended up with the diverticulosis. Allergies to fruits and vegetables, and it's really tough. You know what I mean? It's been tough.
Yeah.
So that album that album got shelved because I couldn't do anything.
Right.
So and it was right before I was going to do.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to do a song with MOP. I was so excited. I was about to do a song with MOP over an M-Phases beat called "Brutal Assault." And, brutal assault on your senses. It was crazy. And, it got shelved. And then I started to once I got healthy, my focus was to rebuild my life. And the music was just not even in my train of thought,
Yeah. So Heavy Hands, it took, for those who don't know, his album, Heavy Hands, that just came out last month, was 15 years in the making because it started from there. But the reason it took so long was because of life stuff like this, like a setback of your health where you almost died for years.
Yep.
And then, getting back on your feet and then trying to just function as a human being. And then, getting married and having 2 kids, right? You had twins at 40.
Yeah. Twins. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah,
so then you go from barely almost dying, right, from a disease that no one knows what it is, getting back on your feet, and then having twins at 40. which is, I don't know
Yeah.
which one's more difficult. The disease of having kids, babies are born, twins.
The twins was savage, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
up every
That was,
3 hours.
that was a tremendous undertaking for my wife and myself. That was
Yeah,
like unbelievable, you know. It was,
yeah.
but they're just so cute, man. You know, they're just so friggin' adorable. They're just like cutest things, you know. And their brother, my son, you know, their brother is just, he's just so. I'm lucky, man. I'm a lucky guy.
And you
I
had a
think
son,
like,
like I said, shout out Colin. You had a son prior to the twins too.
yeah, and my little Zoe and Fiona, I love you. Daddy loves you. But the thing is that there is the bigger part of it was that even after I got on my feet, I had dealt with so much loss and so much death, and I had to like kind of come full circle. You know what I mean? So like I didn't have. By the time I got to where I was, even like 3 or 4 years ago, I was so beat down, like mentally and emotionally and physically, like I didn't have the capacity or the belief in myself at all. Like my self-confidence was non-existent, and I was angry and I was bitter and I was just kind of like accepting like just this failed career, and you know, just kind of, it was just hard, man. You know what I mean? It was hard to overcome, and I had a real big epiphany. I had something personal happen to me that just kind of cracked me and broke me down, and then here we are. You know, now, here we are, a couple of years later.
And like a year ago, you came to me, ready to do something with all this music. You given me all these tracks that you had recorded over the last 15 years. And people were getting on your. At that point, you were like, you were sick of hearing people telling you to go back to music. You were like, I'm so sick of people saying, "Hey, X, what are you doing? What are you doing?" Because you had all these peers and all these family that really loved your music. I mean, Sean Price was a big adamant. You became friends with Rockness Monster. All these guys were telling you to get at it. So it was time.
Yeah, but like everybody can tell you, right? Like everybody can say whatever they want to say. But like, if you don't believe in it, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, who the hell wants to hear that? You know what I mean? Or like, I literally did not believe in myself in capacity at anything. I mean, and that's relative to in any capacity, right? You know, being a father, being a husband, being a son, being a brother, being an employee, being anything. I was so insecure in every part of my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I projected that I wasn't. I projected like this cocky guy, this arrogant guy. It was all a lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I finally got it. I was actually sitting in this room and where I'm at now, and Rock was here. And Rock looked at me and he said, he looked at me and he goes, "Look, X, I love you." And shout out to Rockness Monster. He said, "I love you, bro." He goes, "Listen," he goes, "if next year I come back here and you're not actively pursuing your music, we're going to have a problem." You know what I mean? And I'm like,
I'd probably say the same thing to you.
Yeah, it was.
You might,
you
might take me out, but we're gonna have a problem.
No. It'd be like we don't talk to each other like that, right? Like you and I don't talk. Rock and I don't talk to each other like that.
I've talked to people like that though. I've talked to people like that aren't taking advantage of their creative ability. You know what I mean? I'll be like, "Yo, you got to do something, or we're gonna fight."
Well, you know, but see, I had created that. Yeah, no, I had created the persona where I was unapproachable like that, right? So, like, I had created a scenario in which I was a volatile person that, you know, nobody wanted to talk to like that because they didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I mean? So, like, nobody wants to help. You know, like, if you get a wild boar backed into a corner and it's injured, it's a really dangerous thing. It will, you know what I mean? And that's what they looked at me like, a wild boar, you know, a broken wild boar. You know what I mean? You press it, and you're going to have a problem, you know? So, Rock told me that. A couple other people told me that. And,
and, you know,
and here we are.
You know, when you came to me a year ago, I was looking for something to sink my teeth in, and it was the perfect project. I mean, I'd heard.
Boy, did you ever! You really got at it, man.
You know,
because listen, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am right now if it wasn't for you. for you and the archetype, you know, everybody involved, you know what I mean? Like I might want to, but I would not have the capability or the understanding or you know, the opportunity to do the things I'm doing if it wasn't. So thank you.
No, and no doubt. No, thank you for your work ethic and your trust, you know, and we have a great relationship. Me, you,
Yep.
we're friends first. We
Yeah, of
respect
course.
each other business wise, archetype
Yeah.
on the boards. And everything kind of came full circle at the time too, because I also had picked up a whole bunch of new set of skills.
Yeah.
You picked up a new set of skills. Arc was better. We were all better. We were all ready. And we, you know, we took all these songs. Some didn't make the album. Some we tweaked. Some we remixed.
Right?
Um,
Over
and
20 songs.
yeah, we had
Woo!
20 songs, and then we kept, you know, and for people, only because there was so many good songs, and it was 15 years that we not trim it down even more, but we just couldn't trim anymore. And it's to me, it's one of the best albums to come out of New England. I might be a little biased because I worked on it, but show me compare something to it, man. It's one of the better albums I've heard come out of New England
Well,
in a
you know,
while.
I mean, I'm really proud of it, right? Like, I'm really proud of it. It's a great body of work. It shows a lot of range. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I think that, you know, having all that time and effort put into it, and then all the time we put into it afterwards, having
yeah,
like, shout out to the archetype at the Bridge Sound and Stage too, because
absolutely.
you can have all the Obi-Wan Kenobis you want, people, but there's only one Yoda. Okay, and archetype is Yoda. Okay, listen,
Yeah,
on Dogs, that guy, the work that we all do together, we have a really great relationship, archetype and I. So, you know, we have this, we're synced up. You know what I mean? We have this work relationship together because we're also dear friends, but we have
yep.
this work relationship. It's
Oh,
kind of effortless. You know what I mean? The album is really good, man. It's got a lot of really great responses on it. There's something for everybody on there. And it's not, I would say the colloquialism throughout the music, you know, between just the audio, the mixing, the flow of the record, you know, the order of the songs that you guys assembled, you know, everything, you know, the logo, the cover art, you know, everything. It's just like, everything worked. Everything worked.
and
You know?
one thing I was talking about the album, it's a very diverse hip hop record. You know,
Yep.
nowadays everybody is kind of going like one lane with it. This album is very diverse and it's not forced. You pick up these
Yeah.
new set of skills of singing. You really come into your zone with singing.
I love
Um,
singing, man.
yeah, you're
I
a
love
singer
it.
now. Um,
Yeah.
we'll get into the other stuff in later, but your singing stepped up. Your bar work as an MC, lyrically, vocabulary was at a high level.
Yeah.
And then musically, the album goes in many different directions with many different types of beats. You know, it's just it's what you want in a hip hop record, in my opinion. For someone who's listened to it as long as I have, it's just like, and it doesn't sound each track when next to each other doesn't sound like abrupt. It's
There's
it's just a
continuity there for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everything kind of fits in there, you know, well. You know, it's like anybody that puts out an album, you know, it's a tremendous amount of work. Okay, like I mean, I think a lot of people that are just fans or people that are just getting started in the game, and you see an artist and they put out a record, that's a lot of work, man. Okay, like, you know, to write, record, track those songs, mix them, master them, conceptualize them. You know, have a you know, a fluid, you know, because most people just do singles. People don't put that kind of effort into an album anymore, which is kind of like a shame in my opinion. But I understand it. You know what I mean? But like the album, I'm very proud of the fact that it does have that continuity to it. You know what I mean? And nothing seems out of place. Nothing seems forced. We've got some really great reviews on it. You know, you've got everything from bar work on there to emotional stuff, you know,
Yeah.
to introspective stuff questioning who we are, what we're about. And that's real stuff. You know what I mean? That's all real stuff. You know what I mean? You got songs like Sucker Punch with Rockness Monster and Rex. It's like Murderous Row. Are you kidding me? The archetype makes a hammer of a beat. You're gonna get on there and get on there and rap against those guys? Because listen, make no mistake about it, right? Those two guys, I love them. They're my brothers. Like everybody on that record was family. Okay? But when I get on a song, I don't care who it's with. My number one goal is to annihilate everybody on that song. Okay? When it's that kind of song. okay, when we're just spitting. That's my goal. And let me tell you something. That's a real tall order. And I'm not saying I did that. I'm just saying, like, look, I give as good as I get. You know what I mean? And steel sharpens steel. But then you have songs like Wreckage and Choices, these deep, introspective, you know, self-revealing songs from, you know, from myself or me and Slain, you know what I mean? And then you got Fun Hip Hop, the Credibility remix with me, Rock, and me and Helter Skelter. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. This is joints are crazy. Everybody on it, Checkmark, SO, Shabam Sadiq, beats from everyone from Shuko to Archetype to Teddy Ruxpin to Domingo. You know what I mean? Just, dude, I mean, it's a really good album. Like, I'm at the point where I'm tired of it, right? Because I've got to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm tired of it, like, because I've had it and I sat on a lot of them, and, you know, a lot of the new stuff that we did, like, I love it, but I don't have, my pace works at a different pace, right? So I'm already down the road. But, like, when I go back and I look at it, I'm proud of it. You know what I mean? And I've gotten really great feedback from everybody. Like, I haven't had hardly any negative feedback from it, you know? So, and I'm really grateful for everybody who supported it, went out and bought it, went out and, streamed it, listened to it. Like, we started at absolutely zero, and we have something to show for a year later, you know? And I just, you know, I want to let everybody know that I'm going to continue to work with my team, because it's not just me. I don't get any of this done without my squad, without my team, you know?
Well, thank you.
Group effort.
It definitely is. It's definitely a team sport. To anybody out there that thinks it isn't, good luck.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. Hey, listen,
I'm not telling you what to do with your life, but good luck.
No. Listen. You take the team. You got to be in your lane. I want to write songs and I want to perform. I don't want to worry about this, that, and the third. You know, the idea is for a young artist, make yourself a commodity. Make yourself somebody who's prepared, that's professional, that respects other people's time and other people's creativity and their process, and find people that you can work with, that you can trust and build a relationship with, and do your part. And then understand that that wheel is a lot of pieces to make it move, to make it spin. You know what I mean? And you try to do this on your own all you want. But when we say on our own now, we mean without signing a major label deal and being, you know, hooked up with a label to pay back $500,000 over 4 years. You know what I mean? That's what we mean on our own. I'm not doing this on my own. You've got to really, really invest in yourself. But, man, listen, if you're the artist, if you're going to be the person out front, you've got to be on time, you've got to be prepared, and you've got to be willing to work twice as hard as everybody else in the room to achieve what you want, and always be grateful for the opportunities you have and help other people that are helping you. That's how it works.
And that's going back to what Guru told you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Like I knew like who was I going to meet at that point in time that knew more, right? Like that's no coincidence. I got to meet that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My boy Kane Major, Kane 120 says Choices. A lot of guts to put that out there. Respect. Let's talk about the video, because I know the video you put a lot of work
Appreciate
into.
That. And shout out to Dickie Skins and Sean McDonald, Thick Pup Entertainment. Just what professionals, right? Choices. Yeah, a lot of guts to put that out there. That was there's a lot to that. When I write songs, certain songs, my process is I tend to write if it's the kind of song that I think is going to be something that I want to do a video for. While I'm writing the song, I'll simultaneously outline a treatment for a video. And I knew when I was writing it and recording it after Ark and I had finished it too that it was going to go that way, and I had already had a treatment kind of written for it. And the idea was that I don't want to make I'm at the point in my life where I don't want to make like any more like credibility videos, like rap hand videos where I'm just in front of just some building or a car, just doing some that stuff's fun, it's cool, but I didn't want to do that. I'm more of a storyteller, and I thought, why not dial it back and take me as a young XL and put it out there. And my son, my handsome, talented son, is a ringer for me. I mean, he's better looking, arguably, than I ever was. But I got him to play me in that video. The video was very, it was very emotional. It was a long day. It was an 18-hour shoot. You were in the video. I had my son playing the younger version of me, and to watch him do that was it was a little overwhelming. And you know, that song says a lot. At the end of the song, I hung from the ceiling like 48 pictures, and they were pictures of people from my life, and I mean everybody: ex-wife, wife, friends, aunts, uncles, mother, father, family, people that were deceased. I buried a lot of people in my life, like a lot. And at the end of an 18-hour day, I was filming the last segment of it, and I broke down. And I honestly didn't want to use that scene because that's like my pride in me be going like, that's a little too soft. You shouldn't put that in there. But I was overruled by Dickie and Sean. And the reason was because that was real. That was a real feeling. It's because being surrounded by those pictures, a lot of those people who are dead, and they all were parts of the building blocks of my life. It was overwhelming to see all of those people that were so important to me in front of me. They were more than just pictures. You understand?
Right.
They were more than just memories. And thinking about where I am right now in my life and what I know lies before me, like what's coming, I wouldn't be who I was without a lot of those people. You know what I mean? Like they are the choices that I made, and they are this like part of the total that is me. So that was, yeah, it's a really introspective song. The video is amazing. They shot it in 6K. We put it out in 4K. We edited that thing. Dickie and I and Sean, we probably got about 15, 18 hours into editing that. It was a tremendous amount of work, but it was worth it. The response that I have gotten from family, friends, people that I don't know, you know, so I have so many amazing fans that I've made over the last like year and a half, just like tremendous fans. The outpouring of support and the way it made them feel, that was how I knew we were on the right path, you know? So it was, but it was a very exhausting experience, physically and emotionally and mentally. It was taxing. You know what I mean? The first part for me was easy, watching my son do it, because I was just so proud of him. I mean, we needed a 6 or a 7 for him, and he gave us a 12. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
You know, my daughters are so cute. They did such a great job. They're like 7, so they're like internet celebrities now, right? Like they're like, oh my God, we're on YouTube. You know, you have to make sure. They're like, you have to make sure you like and subscribe. They keep asking me if I've gotten my button from YouTube yet for 100,000 plays. I'm like, not yet. We're on our way. But they're like, well, you'll get it, Daddy. Don't worry.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's great, man. It's great. It was a great experience. So, Dickie and Sean, those Stick Pup, man, those guys, man, oh my God, they're unbelievable. Like the visual acuity and understanding, I learned so much from them. And God, I mean, they're brilliant. They're filmmakers. You know what I mean? They're filmmakers that came into the rap video. You know what I mean? And like, and they cared about it like it was their own. You know, and they're just, oh man, I love those guys, man. They really, a lot of respect for them. You know.
Yeah, shout out to Dickie Skinsy's in here too. He just said he bodied it.
Yeah, Dickie, you bodied it, man. And Dickie's a triple threat too. That guy can sing, rap, write movies, film movies, direct movies, edit. These are the kind of people I'm surrounded with. You know,
that's for a reason.
Dickie, Sean, woo! For real.
There's a reason why you're around people like that is because your work ethic, your workability, and how you maintain your relationships. I think that's very important. A lot of people don't understand, can make the connections, but can you maintain them? You know, Rock This Monster, Sean before he left, Bernadette, all these other people, Slane, you put a lot of effort into maintaining those relationships. It's very easy in today's society with the internet and all social media to not maintain your relationships and your friendships. You're one of your biggest keys to success, in my opinion, is your ability to do that. So props to you, man.
Well, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful. You have some gratitude in this life, you know, and recognize that it's not a sign of weakness to accept the fact that somebody has taught you something or given you something or helped you with something.
Right.
You know what I mean? As an insecure person, you can't do that, right? You can't give that leverage because you feel
Well, you think
like
it's just all about you, right? It's like all
yeah,
about you.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
and you don't want
my art, right? And that's part.
And I don't want the perception. I don't want my perception to anybody to be that like I'm not strong enough or I'm not man enough and I can't do it on my own. It's man, listen. I care. Look, if I care about you, I care about you. If I ride with you, I ride with you all the way until the wheels fall off.
Right.
And I hate a text message. Call me. I like, there's some people I text, some people are busy. I text. I like to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. I want to hear your voice. I want to say hello. How you doing? How's your family? I miss you. What's happening? I want to hear your voice. Hear if you're all right. You know what I mean? It's important to me, man. Life's too short, man. Yeah. Text message ain't got no soul, man.
Yeah. So Heavy Hands is done.
Done.
God.
Thank God.
We finished it. We finished it.
Yep, for sure.
So why don't you tell people about what you got going on next?
Oh my God.
Because I know you're really, really excited about this.
Yo, listen. So I've got, all right. So in between my albums, I have this unbelievable project I'm working on with my brother Block McLeod, the Mommy of the Pharaohs. The group is called cofounding. And this is going to be, I'm not going to say too much about it, but you're going to have a lot of harmonizing, a lot of singing. You're going to have some rapping in there. Archetype is producing the whole thing. All of us are working on it. We're very excited. We got 2 songs done. We're going to probably do 6, see where we're at with that. And then XL the Beast's next album is called Secrets and Lies. And for that, I have about 14 or 15 songs already recorded. I've got another 5 or 6 that I want to start recording for that project that I'm going to start culling. Archetype and I built some absolute monsters. Me and John Glass from Glass House, shout out to John Glass. We got some monsters. Me and the homie Rain, unbelievable beat maker, beautiful person too. Got some heaters. My man Nickel Plated. Woo! We got some hammers. Unbelievable. Got that. Couple side projects possibly in the work that I'm not going to really speak on until they're confirmed. You know what I mean? But with a couple of really dope, well-respected MCs and personal friends, maybe going to be giving you the business. We're going to see. We got a full slate. And right now I'm working with Beat Clock, my man James Desmond Desi and his partner Panna and their team. And I'm doing a 5-song artist spotlight for Warner Brothers. Actually off tonight to record the first of 5 songs for that. So yeah, man. Yeah, I got a guest spot going to be hooking up with my homie G Fan Black that we had slated like a year ago that I finally going to get to record. So shout out to him. And we're gonna put that one there. That's gonna be fun. And then after like these next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm gonna just take a couple week break. I'm gonna do some fishing, reset the batteries, focus. And that's it, man. I can't wait. I want to get out and do some shows. Man. I want to get out there and get back in touch with the people. So, Club of Lang, the album is called Penniless Kings. You're going to love it. And XL the Beast, Secrets and Lies. Listen, I got $1 million talent. I got $1 billion drive. All I needed was to believe in that time it has arrived.
Well, we're going to end on that note.
That's a perfect ending spot for me because I'm sweating. Yeah, I'm
cool.
Sweating like a hooker in church.
I want to thank everybody for tuning into the Leedz Edutainment Podcast with special guest and friend, XL the Beast. I'm sure we'll be talking in a day or so. X, enjoy your time. Stay busy and talk soon.
Love you, brother. Thanks, man.
Take care.
Peace.